see your differences and learn to deal with your pain until fear is gone and nothing can hold you down. Head high, shoulders square, now get your feet up off the ground. Get ready to Shiro up. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Shiro's Quest. I'm your host, Anita Warner. And today we are celebrating the lives of two women that have triumphed over various life challenges. Both ladies joining us today are women that have powerful stories that they have come to share with us. From being teen moms to gaining their master's degrees and other certifications, triumphing over odds that not many are able to get beyond. Please welcome Sheila Pritchard Murray of North Carolina and Crystal Chestnut of Pennsylvania. Ladies, I thank you for joining me here today on Shiro's Quest and agreeing to share your inspiring stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Both of you have defied many odds in your lifetime, from teen mothers to single motherhood to dating as single mothers to marriage and divorce, all the while getting your education, and not just one degree, but getting various certifications and license and going as far as to getting your master's degrees.
Mm-hmm.
For you, Sheila, your road has included divorce and remarriage.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it seems your lessons in life somehow keep propelling you. Can you share with us some of your journey?
Sure. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And I thank you for being a guest.
Thank you. Well, I was in college and actually I traveled from Delaware and went to college in Los Angeles. I went to fashion school at the Fashion Institute in Los Angeles. And there, during my second year, I became pregnant. And it was really a scary time. I was so far away from family. I was there basically alone in LA. Actually, my brother and my sister-in-law were there, but they lived some distance away from me. And I had the hard task of telling my mother that I was pregnant and I needed to drop out of school, because also in fashion school, every day we dressed up. It was like a dress code, so it was a little bit different. And so I had the hard task of telling my mother, and my mother was really upset with me. But nevertheless, I did wind up, she told me, okay, I needed to come home. And so I wind up dropping out of school and coming home and being with family and back in Wilmington, Delaware, and giving birth to my daughter. By that time, I was 20 years old. So gave birth to my daughter when I was 20.
And leaving school early, was there anyone in the neighborhood or anywhere that looked down on you, or even in a church congregation that may have looked down on you because you were having a child out of wedlock?
Absolutely. It was challenging. My parents were, we were raised in a church, and I really felt as if I let my parents down also because I was so far away from home. And as a matter of fact, the year before I had flown home a couple times because it was Los Angeles, so they had to give me a plane ticket. And also by this time I was staying in my own apartment off campus, my mother funded by my parents. So coming back from having to drop out after getting myself established in college and doing all that, it was embarrassing. I felt that I shamed the family. That's how I felt. And my parents really didn't feel that way, because when I came home, my sisters did help, buy me different things, maternity clothes, and I even had baby clothes, assistance from my sisters. And one really, really example of unconditional love is that my dad would take me to my OBGYN appointments. And that was something that, because my dad was very soft spoken, he was a very honorable man. And I really, really, it just showed me just the extraordinary love and support that I have from my family. And so that was one of the things that just kind of fueled me from that point on. But my dad would actually literally escort me down the steps because it was during the winter months in Delaware. So winters were harsh. And my dad would actually escort me down the steps and lead me to the car and take me to my appointments, to my OBGYN appointments. And as a matter of fact, he was the one who actually drove me to the hospital when I went into labor to give birth to my daughter, Erica. So just one thing too, just the security of your parents' love really gives you the foundation that you can fly. And so I did after that.
Okay. All right. And so after you had your child, and we're talking not to date you in age, but at the same time, the viewers, our viewers are in your age category now. So
okay.
How long ago was that, and how old is your daughter now?
My daughter's 45 years old.
Okay.
About to turn 46. And so that's how long ago it was. Yeah.
Okay. And what did you do to prevent her from going down the same road and you're raising her that you went down? Or
just always, because I was raised by a family that just really were extraordinary people that taught me strength and love and just support. And so for my children, and I do have 3, so my daughter, Erica, is 45, and my son is 36, and my daughter is 31. And I've always raised them with the support of just that they're not infallible, that things can happen, but I'm here. I always gave them a foundation of love and support and just nurtured them through everything that they needed. And just always, we have excellent communication and just a strong believer in education. So love, education, family support, those are the foundations.
Okay. And you said you have 2 other children. Now, at any point, were you a single mother? How long were you?
Oh, yes. I was a single mother with Erica for 9 years. But as a single mom, I wasn't married. As a single mom, though, I did have the support of my family and my sisters and my mother and my father. So Erica had a lot of extended relatives and love. One of my older sisters used to pick her up on the weekends and take her to her house. She lived just right across town from me, with my brother-in-law and my sister and my nieces and nephews there. So it was where kind of everybody kind of had a hand in assisting me with Erica. And that was wonderful because she had so many experiences and so many life experiences and just dealing with different personalities and getting, whatever she needed from different members. So it was a wonderful time. I mean, she flourished, as did I. Yeah.
Inspiring. Now, you said you were a single mother for 9 years.
Yes.
What changed?
I went, I met my husband, my future husband. But I decided to go back to school. And it took me a while to finish my undergrad. It took me a while, but also because I had another child and I was still going back to school. So during that time too, when I finally finished my undergrad and got my bachelor's, and I did graduate with honors, I was just around 32 years old, about 32, I believe. Yeah, I was about 32. So actively, I went back for like 3 full-time years. I had taken a class here, a class there, but then I just hadn't taken anything for a long time. But then I went back full-time for like 3 years and finished it.
Were you back in Los Angeles, or you were back in Los Angeles going to school?
No, Mm-mm.
Okay.
I went to school in Florida. At that point, I was in
Okay.
Florida, got
Okay.
married, and went back to
Mhm.
school and then graduated. Yeah. So I got my
Okay. All
bachelor's
right.
in at Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what was dating life like with as a single mother? Was that a challenge?
It is a challenge. And one thing that you have to keep in mind too, when you have a small child, even though you might want to date, maybe it's not the most important thing for you at that point, because I didn't want to be introducing my daughter, to different people and that kind of thing. So that wasn't my thing. I wanted
Mhm.
to kind of focus on her. And that's
Mhm.
what I did. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, it might sound like a cliche, but she really was like my life. She really was my life.
As she should.
And
Yes.
yeah, she was really my life. I mean, when I say that I took her everywhere, I took her everywhere with me. She was like
Mhm.
my little shadow, you
Mhm.
know, and it was
Mhm.
always constant teaching, learning, hey, let me show you this, or hey, let me show you how to do this. That was constant. That was constant.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
So your second child was with your husband,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
uh,
And my third.
your second and third were with your husband,
Mhm.
boys or
Yes.
girls? What?
My second child is my son,
Okay.
Hobart,
Mhm.
and he's
Mhm.
36, and then my daughter
Mhm.
is Shannon.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's
All right.
31. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
And life was smooth sailing after that, or how with raising your children? Well, your daughter was Erica was a few years older, or several
She
years,
was like,
9 years
yeah,
older
9
than
going on
Hobie.
10 years. Yeah, than
Mhm.
Hobie.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
it was good. It was
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
The thing that was really good is because I had started working, but then I
Mhm.
decided, well, I was a stay-at-home mom for a few
Okay.
years.
Mhm.
So, and that gave me an opportunity to really focus in on my kids. And I believe that if anybody ever has an opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom, you should take advantage of that while your kids are young. If you have the
Yeah.
opportunity, it
Mhm.
it boded well. It was an advantage for my kids in my case.
Mhm.
I mean, I was there in the morning, I was there when they came home. Um, I got up before everybody else did. I packed
Mhm.
notes and put in their lunch
Mhm.
boxes. I hugged them, kissed them, always gave them positive,
Mhm.
motivation stuff.
Mhm.
I'm an avid reader, so I was reading all kinds of books about kids and child development, so much so that I even taught child development in high school. I got my certification in that. That's one of my licenses that I have.
Okay.
Um, so I just, my kids and my family were my world, and I had the
Mhm.
opportunity to do that. So that was advantageous for us, in that
Right.
case during that
Mhm.
period of time. Yeah, about that. That's how I've always
Mhm.
been. And I just know that education is a game changer. It can just increase you and just your life. It can change your life. It can change your life. Instead of just continuing on what you're doing, it's always better to improve yourself and try to elevate yourself to do better. Because when you do better, everything is better. It works out a little bit better. And also, aren't we examples for our children? I always wanted to be an example for my child. My daughter and my son and my other daughter always wanted to be an example for them. I always wanted to be the mom that they would look up to and they wanted to emulate. So
And how did that work out for you? What are your children doing now?
they're doing amazing things, and I'm so proud of them. I'm so incredibly proud of them. And my oldest daughter is a medical doctor. She's a pediatrician, and she's doing well outside of Cleveland. My son is in tech. He is a computer engineer, but now he's a director. And he has as a matter of fact, we graduated from the same school. I got my
Mhm.
master's from East Carolina, where he got his undergrad in computer
Mhm.
science and math.
Mhm.
But my son is amazing as well as my daughter. He also has his master's in accounting from UNC Chapel Hill, in accounting and taxation. In addition, he has his MBA from Kellogg in Chicago. So he's worked with some big tech companies, Meta and Facebook and Microsoft. And so now he is like a director in the computer industry. He's pairing that with finance. And my youngest daughter is a chiropractor. So she has her doctorate in chiropractic studies. And Dr. Shannon. So she lives outside of Phoenix, Arizona. And that's where her practice is there. So I'm really proud of her. So those are my three.
And what are some of the other, do you have any other certifications or license that are under your belt?
I do. I told you my paralegal, I have my paralegal degree from Meredith. I have my master's, but I also have certification. I am a certified home stager. I also am a master color coordinator. I have that certification I received in 2022. And I've been a licensed North Carolina real estate agent since 2019. Yeah. Well, actually 2020, sorry.
Now, Crystal, your journey started from extremely young, having endured growing up in a house with parents who suffered from addiction, witnessing abuse, to becoming pregnant as a teen and later being in an abusive relationship of your own, which you managed to free yourself and your children from, to going back to school, in fact, entering into the military at some point in your life. You went to college and you gained your degrees and certification and still looking to further your education more. Please share with us your journey, if you would.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Anita for allowing me this opportunity to participate in her show. Life was very, very challenging for me as a young lady growing up. Throughout my school years, I went through a lot. I was raised in an abusive family. My mother was abused by my stepfather. And my father was an alcoholic. But I will say that throughout that, my family support from my family, my church, and some of my teachers in school helped me to make it through the challenge. But yet and still, it was definitely hard. And prayer and God also helped me through things that I went through. And I was able to graduate high school. I was able to get through high school. It was hard because I wasn't one of the smartest people in the world, but I've always dealt with the challenge of perseverance. I never wanted to fail. So it started out, I started dating in school, and then, so I went in the military right out of high school.
Okay.
So when I came home for Christmas break is when I got pregnant. I came home to my boyfriend that I was dating in high school. And when I came home, I got pregnant. I was with their dad, back and forth with their dad, and I was in an abusive relationship. And it was hard because I felt like that was my way out from the things that I went through with my family. So I accepted abuse, and being that my mother went through abuse, I saw it as the right thing because she never really got away. And it wasn't until I went in the military when I got out of the military. One reason was because my mother was stabbed by one of her abusive boyfriends. So I came home to be with my mother. So abuse to me was an acceptable thing, but it became hard because it was a struggle for my children watching their mother being abused. So that challenge was something that it took me a long time to get out of because I was in and out of that relationship for about 10 years. But yet and still, I still worked every day. I got up and provided for my children, made sure they had food every day. And I never allowed that to stop me. I always had a shelter for them. We lived well with my little income. And I will say that because God was in my life and he kept me, the struggle was hard, but with God, all things are possible. So it wasn't until my later years when I met my husband. And my husband was working at Widener University. And I tell you, children are so beautiful because my oldest daughter encouraged me to go back to school. And I was 40 when I went back to school. Well, 39. I was 39 when I went back to school to finish my bachelor's degree, which took me 6 years to complete. And it was that voice of my oldest daughter saying, Mom, you can go back to school. Your husband works at the school. You can go for free, which I was able to complete my bachelor's degree for free because my husband worked there. So even with that, it was still a struggle because here I am, this older woman going back to school, walking into a classroom with 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds. But I will say when I went back to class, it was a beautiful thing because it was another lady in the class with me. She and I were both in our, we were 40. And we were like the light of the class for these younger women. So my first class back was Introduction to Women's Studies. So I'm in the class with these younger women. So our life's experiences and challenges were like always helpful to the young people in the class. So that was like my biggest push because I felt like I had grasped something, be able to share my experiences in this class. And that's where I was like, I'm going to finish, get my degree, and make something of myself. Being encouraged by one of my children.
Right. So that's a beautiful story. Yeah. That's a great thing to be able to go back and also to be of a mother figure really to the students you were going to school with and to show them that age doesn't matter.
Exactly.
When you have a dream, you're just dreaming and you're going after it to better yourself and to better your life ahead. So what actually was your studies when you went back to school?
Social work. It was actually, my major was psychology. So it wasn't until I finished my psychology degree in 2014. And in 2014, I graduated with my bachelor's degree, and my youngest daughter graduated from high school. So I graduated this in May, and my youngest daughter graduated in June with her high school graduation. So that was like a beautiful thing because here I am, this mother of 4, graduating with my bachelor's degree with my youngest daughter. So that was like a beautiful experience for me because it also said to me that for my children, if mom can do it, all things are possible with the little family support.
So as you look back on your life, everything, your struggles that you've gone through, everything played into your choices and decisions of what you majored in school. Is that correct?
That is correct, because when I finished my bachelor's degree, I still wasn't satisfied. So I was like, I have to go back and get some more education. So I signed up for the master's program in social work. So I signed up for a 3-year program for my master's degree in social work. So I felt good about that. Now that was really a challenge. It was definitely a challenge because it was 3 years of night school, working a full-time job, and still trying to support my children with trying to go to college and finish what they had to do. So while I was in school for my master's degree, my oldest daughter was in school with her master's degree. So she graduated in January of 2018 with her MBA, and I graduated in May with my MSW. So again, looking at my children and wanting to see them successful, even with that, they saw, like my oldest daughter saw the abuse from her father, and my son saw the abuse from her father. But that didn't stop them. And they would always encourage me. Little things that they would say as children, they didn't know, but it always looking at them was always like, Mom, I have to be successful. I have to make something good out of my life. So when I was in that master's program, I always said I wanted to be finished by the time I'm 50. May 18th, I graduated. September 13th, I turned 50. So my later years in my life were the best years of my life. But I also will say that if I didn't have the struggles that I have and the things that I had to go through, I don't think I could be the woman that I am today.
Yes. And you've defied the odds of the stigmas and the stereotypes that are out, because they say women that become pregnant at a certain age are relying on the state or government for support, and they will not get to the level that you have actually experienced going to in your life. So when you look at some of these statistics, does that make you smile, or does that affect you in any way?
It makes me smile, but I always look at if I can encourage, because I always used to say to some of the young ladies that I work with, go back to school. We don't get a lot of money from the hospital to go back to school, but take the advantage of the monies that they give us to go back to school. So if I can encourage someone just by something that I've had a challenge with and let them know that you can overcome your challenges. Because even do something that you just said, welfare. Yes, I was on welfare. Yes, I got food stamps. Yes, I got medical, but I couldn't live off of that type of money. It was just not enough for a mother to raise children off of that type of money. So for me, I wanted better for myself. So even for me, I didn't buy a house till I was 50 years old. But it can be done. And you have to, first of all, as a person, you have to figure out what you want out of life. That's easier said than done, because we see things, but do we want to go through with what we want out of life? And I feel like that's the challenge for most people. They don't want to step out and do the work. They have a plan, but they don't want to step out and do the work. And for whatever reason that is for them, I can't say. But you have to have a great support team too, because if you don't have that support, it's not there. And even with me, when I was in the master's program, my children's friends that were in college, they helped me write a many of papers. There was times that I was sitting there 3 o'clock in the morning trying to write a paper and had no idea what I was doing. But because the love and the caring heart that I have for my children's friends, they could come to my house at any time and I would be there for them. When I reached out and asked them for something, they would always help mom. I was everybody's mom.
That's a great support system. Yeah.
Yes. So it's out there, but it's what do you want for your life?
Right. For some of the jobs that you had while you were going to school, you spoke of the hospital. What is it that you do?
So when I started at the hospital, I started out as a medical assistant. So it was enough to get by. But I will say when I started as a medical assistant, I was making $11.50 an hour. And I was making it, and I believe that I was making it because of the grace of God, because I never suffered. My kids never were not able to eat. I was always able to pay my bills. There was always enough money for me to get through. Yes, I lived from check to check. Yes, we did. But again, with God in my life, he always made a way. And I had a business. I'm a jewelry maker. So I would do jewelry and I would go to Cowtown on Saturdays and sell my jewelry. And the money flowed. So my children never suffered. But I didn't always want to work that hard. So as I went through, so I was a medical assistant. I worked in many different departments as a medical assistant. And then when I went back and got my bachelor's degree, I became a case manager. So that was a few dollars. Mind you, at Crozier, working there for many years, when I got my bachelor's degree, I went from $12 to $15. But again, God always made a way and kept me, and it was always something. And then when I finished, I'm a social worker, and I'm a trauma social worker, and I love what I do. I'm always able to touch someone with something. When you walk in the room and you see people in distress from losing a loved one or coming in, sometimes trickles over to you. You have emotion. We're people. We're human beings. We have human emotions, so we can feel what other people feel. But there's been times that some of my experiences, people have opened the door for me to be able to talk to them about it and let them know it's going to be okay. Because I've seen a lot of parents come in that lost their son to gunshot violence. I lost my brother to gunshot violence. He was 20 years old. So I've experienced that as well. But again, perseverance and trusting God and family support and wanting something for myself got me to where I am today.
So if you were to see that, the CDC says that 40% of women out here are running homes on their own, are single mothers. If you were to talk to a single mother today, what would that conversation sound like?
Based on her situation, because a lot of women are single because maybe they were in an abusive relationship, they got away, or maybe they were with someone and it was something that they didn't want. But never give up. Never give up. Even if it's hard, always have a plan for you and your child. Whether it's one child, whether it's two children, never give up. Try to keep a job. And it's hard because jobs are not easy to find. And people, you look at people that don't have education, people don't want to hire them. But there are jobs out there that will hire people without an education. And you don't have to stay there. Think of, again, plan for a future for your children. Look at yourself and look at what you would want for your children. Be that example for your child. Show them that it can be done. Even though it's just me, Mom, it can be done. And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to take care of you. And you instill those values in your children. And you always have to show them love. Because children learn from experience. And if they're and single mothers can be some of the best loving people in the world. And then you have single moms that can be some of the hurt people in the world. But when you have people that want to persevere, do it. Talk to someone. And I will say that when people hear of you going to talk to like somebody about your situation, there is nothing wrong with that. Because when you're talking to someone outside of the box, they're not judging you. They're not looking at you as a person of, oh, this person wants nothing. Sitting there just talking to somebody that will just listen to you can be one of your biggest helps, because they don't always tell you what you need to do. You talking to them, you hear what you need to do when you're expressing what you're going through.
Thank you for that. Now, all that you've been through and the distance that you've come, all your achievements, would you change anything about your life?
No. Because if I hadn't had the life that I lived, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. My struggles made me realize that there are people that life can be so easy for, but they're never happy. You look at people that have all the money in the world, but they're not happy. I'm happy. I feel like my struggles, the things that I went through, made me see that it can be done. So no, I wouldn't change anything about my life.
You talk about the family you've raised, the children, your husband. What are your children? How many children do you have, and what are some of the great things that they're doing right now in your relationship with them?
So I have 4 children. My oldest daughter, she lives in Texas. She's married and she has a great job. She works for a company, I believe it's called Cody. She is in retail sales. She does very, very well. And one of my biggest inspirations, my youngest daughter, she works at a school. My son, he works at a school and he also has his business. He's a basketball trainer. It's called Next Up Academy. He works with young men. His passion. He loves what he do. And my middle daughter, she's a tattoo artist. So she is doing her own business and she is a tattoo artist. So I feel like the things that my children saw me go through made them who they are. because they're always about that drive and pushing and to make something for themselves. Watching my children grow up and watching them watch what I went through as I raised them, the benefit from what they learn from me is so inspirational, because there are times they'll call and they'll say, "Mom, are you okay?"
And checking up on you.
Yes, which is like a great thing, because I have two daughters that live with me, and my the way my house is, she lives downstairs, and we'll have a conversation for an hour, and then 20 minutes later she'll call me and be like, "What you doing? Are you okay?" And it just melts me just to know that your children love you no matter what.
And it's so nice that they're so close to you that they want to talk to you. That's the thing. That they want to talk to you and share and let you know what's going on. And they're genuinely concerned. Yes. You did something right. You did something right there. Yeah.
I was telling Nita that with my mom was a heroin addict and my dad was an alcoholic. And her lifestyle, she talked to me and my siblings, and she told us about her life. And I shared with Anita that even though I was teased in school, people said little things, called my mom a junkie and would say little things to me. It bothered me, but it didn't bother me as much as it probably would have if she had not told me. So it wasn't like I walked out there and somebody called my mom a junkie and I didn't know it. I knew.
Right.
And it didn't take away the fact that whatever she was still my mother.
Right, exactly.
And in her addiction, she always found time to say, "I love you."
Well, that's just it. So she loved you. What she was doing was to herself, but that's just it, that she still loved you. So that's good to know that.
Yeah. So it was and like I said to Nita, I said, I wouldn't change anything about my life, because if I changed it, I could be the child that came up with a 2-parent home and not be ready for the world.
Yeah.
Having everything handed to me and not being able to deal with everything handed to me. So me having to work for the things that I got, I appreciate it more. I didn't buy a house till I was 50.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with both my parents, and then they divorced when I was like a teenager, like right in high school. But my dad still was around. My dad still would come over our house, dig us out of the snow, dig my car out, do all that. So I never missed it. Still took me to New York when I wanted to preview a college. He took me on the train. So I still had a lot of connections with him. And I felt like I was a little bit privileged because my siblings were older and they kind of were gone. But it's just imagine how I just feel of what's possible when girls from the beginning are just loved and nurtured by people around them.
Yes.
So I never took anything for granted. I always appreciated everything. I got a car when I was 16. I went to Europe when I was, before I got the car. Traveled, did things, my sister bought me all kinds of, nice clothes and, always had all that kind of stuff, but I always appreciated it. I never felt that I was above or, oh my God, never got snobby. I think that the faith also grounded me.
Right.
Always had that. And just was extremely close to my mother, who was my heart. I was totally devoted to her. And just appreciated it. So I think that's also key.
Yeah.
I think it's also key to know that you're loved, but also to not take anything for granted. Because parents, regardless of who they are, they still work hard and they still want the best for us. They still want the best for us. And that's all. That was my takeaway from my family. I just knew that I should be a good mom, and I know that I should be just a key figure in my kids' life and always give them direction and love and just always guide them and direct them.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. You had 2 daughters and 1 son.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Who was the hardest to raise? Because I had 3 daughters and 1 son. Who was the hardest to raise?
Mm, probably maybe my youngest daughter, Shannon. My
Okay.
oldest daughter wasn't hard to raise because she was very much, she had all the characteristics of a firstborn. She was a
Okay.
leader. She was very
Mm-hmm.
self-motivated. She was grounded because also part of my life is we live with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So she was old school. She had my mother adored her,
Okay.
totally adored her, and so she was just a unicorn. She was just a total
Okay.
unicorn, And then I was married, and so I had my son and my daughter, So with their dad, we were married for 20 years, and then we got divorced. So we were really great parents. We were really,
Okay.
really great parents, but not necessarily good spouses, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so my kids grew up in a great, great environment. We still were respectful and loved the kids and all that kind of stuff, did all the time. But just when it came time for us at the end, when everybody was going to college and stuff, we're like, I don't know who you are. This is not what I want. So we kind of just grew apart. I guess I can say that in a nice way. But probably my youngest daughter, because also at that time I was going through a divorce. She was in 11th grade, and I stayed in the community so she could continue to go to the school. It was hard because things weren't the same.
Okay.
She was living with me in a townhouse. Her dad was living across town. And she's not like my daughter. She's, I think just was hard for her going through divorce and stuff. And we had lots of talks about it. She shared a lot with me. But she still was very studious, never gave me problems. All my kids played sports, school, and also community sports. So she still was into that. Did well in school, all that. But just a little bit very headstrong, a little bit more headstrong. Not a little bit different from my oldest daughter. And we don't expect our kids to be the same anyway, right?
No.
We all have personalities, and that makes a nice stew. All these different ingredients, right? That's what we want. We don't want them to be a cookie cutter of. Don't even be a cookie cutter of me. Be your own person. I always want you to soar. I'm like, I give you roots and I give you wings. Roots, you can always come back home. I'm always here. You always got a place. But wings, go out and be yourself. Go out and explore and accomplish some stuff. That makes you proud. But yeah, I think just because she's a little bit headstrong and outspoken, very outspoken. But we are extremely we talk every day, several times a day. I already talked to her like twice.
Okay.
Today. Yeah. So yeah. Would you say it was hard for your son?
So because of where we live and a highly drug infested area, it wasn't hard for him because I put it down that protective mom mode, and I made it so that he didn't get caught up in the streets, because a lot of his friends got caught up in the street. And it kind of was like his sisters always said he was like the king and he had all of the privileges, and I did things. So he went to a Catholic school for high school. He went to Cardinal O'Hare. Yeah. So I sent him to Cardinal O'Hare. Everybody else graduated from a regular high school. But so when he went to high school, he was like, Mom, I can't do Chester High. I just can't do Chester High. That's not for me. That's not where I want to go. So I got him into O'Hara with the finances that we had. Thank God that I was able to get a discount rate, but it was still a struggle because with my husband and I, we're on different sides of the fence, and we're in a marriage, but we're not living like normal married couples live.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was, for me, I feel like he had the easiest way because I put the protective mom mode on him. But at the end of the day, he still had the support from his sisters, even though they didn't like the fact that they said he had more privileges. And we sit back and we laugh about those things right now. And
Right, exactly.
they'll send something in a group chat like, yeah, well, Calvin the King, he had everything his way. Mom did everything for him. Mama's boy and stuff. But I look at, what if I had did things different? And even they felt like, what if mom had did things different? Would my son have been dead? Or would he have not been where he is? What he works with kids, he coaches basketball, he works in the school. Would he not have been where he is? And my oldest daughter, like you said, the inspiration for everybody. She set the pace for everybody. So
they blaze the path.
Yes,
They blaze
yes,
that
yes.
path for everybody to follow. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, my youngest daughter, she's the toughest of the toughest. And she was the sweetest child ever. And as she got older, I'm like, is this my Anya? I mean, she has a low tolerance for nonsense. That her nickname is Pitbull. So I'm having this little angel child that turns into this. And she stands about 5'2", and you know,
don't call her Pitbull to her face. Y'all
I don't call her Pitbull, but her friends and siblings, they call her Pitbull.
And I went to real estate school, and it was hard. It was hard. And I have my master's also in school administration, and real estate school was hard. And the guy prepared us and said, tell your family that you can't cook, you can't do anything. You just need to study, like 6 weeks, right? Study, goals. And I guess I didn't take it as seriously as I could. At the end we had to take a test for the class, and then you go and sit for the state board. So at the end of the class, I got like a 60. And I was like, crushed. I was crushed. I was like, oh my God, I'm smart. What is this? 60? And I cried. I called my son, and my husband's like, you know what? It's okay. Go take it again. My son's like, take it again, Mom. Do it again. So everybody gave me like a pep talk. And even my daughter-in-law said, she's a doctor. And she said, I've taken classes that I didn't do well in my classes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you? She's like, yeah. You just do it again. I'm like, okay. So my son said, hold your head up when you walk in there. I'm like, okay. Because I was feeling like, oh my God, And I went, and girl, I took that class. Girl, I did my notes. I studied every night. I did. I went above and beyond. My husband bought me this book. We call it the Real Estate Bible. It has all these terms in there and examples and stuff. I studied. Girl, I passed that class with flying colors. When I took my test. And then I went, and you have to sit for the state and the national board. So I had to take the test for real estate license for North Carolina and national. Girl, I passed both of them in one try. I passed flying colors, and there was people in there. One gal who's in my class had to take her test 4 times.
Well, I had to take, as I shared with Anita, I am not a great test taker at all. So I had to take my test 5 times to get my life insurance license before I passed it. The very first time.
But don't stop.
Oh, I got it.
Get up. Right. Exactly. Get up, brush yourself off, study, do whatever you have to do, and do it again.
Yeah. And the first time I took the test, you had to have a 70 to pass. The first time I got a 68. You talking crying.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, exactly. And it's something, selling life insurance, because of seeing with family, these GoFundMes and people not investing in their families, making sure that things are done correctly when someone passes away. That was just like something I never want for my children. I never want for myself. And getting family to get life insurance is probably one of the hardest things that people will do. People would rather buy a pack of cigarettes or spend money on a designer bag than to invest in the future of their family.
Now, both of you ladies have spent time outside of going to school, outside of raising your families, outside of getting married and doing all kind of powerful things that you've been doing in your lifetime. You've spent time actually in sports. You're both athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your time as an athlete, Crystal. What is it that you do?
Right now, I am a tennis player, which I enjoy so much. And I play probably 3 or 4 times a week. I am in 2 different leagues. I'm in the Delaware League and I'm in the Philadelphia League. I am currently on 7 different teams. I'm on a women's team. I'm on a 40 and over mixed doubles team. And I'm on a 2 55 and over teams. So when I'm not spending time with my family, and when I'm not spending time with the Lord, when I'm not spending time at work, when I'm not spending time traveling, when I'm not spending time shopping, and when I'm not just spending time doing anything, I'm out on the tennis court, releasing all of the stress that I have from doing all of the other things that stress me.
Wow. So is that something that also keeps you grounded and moving on because you found an avenue to release your tension?
Yes, because even with that, I've met different people, many different cultures of people, and learned a lot about different people outside of my work field. So yes, it's great, it's fun, and it's motivating.
Yeah. And now, Ms. Pritchard Murray, if you would, what kind of athlete are you?
Well, presently I engage in swimming. And I guess this started because I was a Girl Scout, of course. I learned how to swim way back then when I was young. And also going to Wilmington High School in Wilmington, Delaware. A lot of people don't know, but Delaware had a requirement that you have to pass a swimming test in order to graduate high school. We had an indoor pool. So back then, most of us took our swimming test in 9th grade. And then you could just take various water sports. We even had kayaking in high school back then. And so I have always loved swimming. I've always loved swimming. Most recently, I was... this is me. Senior Olympics. I got 2 gold medals for backstroke and for freestyle. I pass swimming on to my baby daughter. When she comes, we go to the pool. My son gave her lessons. So I always enjoy swimming. I also do bike riding. And I also, when I was younger, I also did track, of course. I mean, most of us did, right? Most of us ran track,
yes,
cheerleader,
indeed.
That kind of stuff was major and all that. But swimming, I always just stuck with swimming. And I just love swimming. It just takes me away. I can do, couple laps and just be in a whole different world. Yeah. And there is I think it's a stereotype. I think for both of us, a lot of people think that women in our community don't know how to play tennis and they don't swim. And that's not true. That's not true.
There we have it, defying the odds all around the board, right? But you ladies are beyond inspiring to me. And Crystal asked me early on, where did I come up with the name of Shero's Quest? A lot of times, because of my own health and my own difficulties, people call me their Shero. And when I think of that and I look, I said, if I'm somebody's Shero, and sometimes the people that call me Shero are my Sheros. And when I look at women as a whole, it's not a one of us that aren't Sheros. It's just that some of us don't see the Shero we have within us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And each of us are on a quest. Every day we wake up on some type of journey. Some of us know how to continue that path, and some of us are lost at what our journeys actually are. But when I look at women like you have found your journey from young. Maybe it was not actually the road that you anticipated in life, but whatever course that came in front of you, you followed it and you guided your way through. And when I look at you, I find within both of you my Sheroes. And I can only hope my viewers find Sheroes also in you. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to come onto this show. And I may not be your kids, but I know that your kids see Sheroes in you as well. And I love the fact that you've come here and you've agreed to share your story. And I wish you both the best in life.
Thank you.
And on your continued path. Keep swinging that tennis racket and keep swinging them arms and getting gold medals.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
And it was so nice to meet with you guys. It was my pleasure. And Crystal, I'm so happy I met you today.
Me too.
So happy I met you. We have to keep it.
No, we're going.
So we can keep Anita.
We're going to keep in touch.
We are.
Not
we are
going to keep in touch.